This session is all about psychoanalytical theory, which is also referred to as psychosexual theory. This theory was formulated by Sigmund Freud, who was an Austrian neurologist. He believed that an individual's basic character had been formed by the age of 5, and this theory can be conceptualized according to the structure and dynamics of the personality, topography of the mind, and stages of personality development. So according to Sigmund Freud, he believed that an individual's basic character had been formed by the age of 5, and this theory is divided into 3 parts. That is, the first one is structure and dynamics of personality, topography of mind, and third one is stages of personality development. Now let's see the first component, which is structure of personality. So according to Sigmund Freud, he organized the structure of personality into id, ego, and superego. So the structure of personality contains id, ego, and superego. Now let's see the first one, which is id. So id means it is the locus of instinctual drives, and it is always based on pleasure principle. Here the person needs immediate gratification of his needs, and id driven behaviors are always impulsive as well as irrational. So this means that whomever is driven by a need is always seeking for immediate gratification of needs or pleasure, and because of this one reason, the id-driven behaviors are always impulsive as well as irrational. Example for id would be, I found this wallet, I will keep the money. Which means that this is an example. Here a person gets a wallet from somewhere which was someone else, and this person is driven by id. Because of this, the person say that I will keep the money which was found in the wallet. This is one example of it. Another example is, mom and dad are gone, so let's party. I will have fun with whomever I please, whenever I please. So here, the person whose mom and dad, parents, were gone out. So now the person thinks that he is going to have party with the friends, and he wants to have fun with whomever he wish for. So this is a id-driven behavior. Now let's see ego. So ego is the second component of structure of personality. So ego is also called rational self or the reality principle. So this ego is based on reality principle. This begins to develop between the ages of 4 and 6 months. Okay, so ego is also referred to as the rational self, and it is based on the reality principle, and it usually develops between the age of 4 and 6 months. And here what happens is that ego experiences the reality of external world, try to adapt to it and respond to it. Ego develops and gains strength, and it tries to bring the influence of external world to bear upon the id to substitute reality principle for pleasure principle. That means id and superego, these are two extremes, and ego act as a mediator between id and superego. Okay, so ego is based on reality principle. Whatever is the situation, ego tries to find the practicality of that situation, try to connect it with the external world, and try to reduce the disharmony which can be caused by a id behavior. Okay, so this is all about the ego. Now let's see example of ego. Here the same example which we already seen in id. Here the person again gets some money with a wallet, and this money doesn't belong to me. Maybe the person who owns this money does not have any money. So this person think based on ego, and here the person is having the basis of the thinking on ego and thinks that the person who lost the wallet does not have any money at all. So because of that, I am not supposed to take the money. In the second example, mom and dad said no friends over while they are away, too risky. And promiscuity can be very dangerous. Okay, so this is about the second example. Here the person thinks that it is very risky to have friends while there is no one else in the house or home. And promiscuity, that is illegal relationships, can be dangerous. Okay, so this is an example of ego. Now let's see superego. Here what happens is superego is based on perfection principle. Okay, and this develops between the age of 3 and 6 years. Here what happens is the person try to internalize the values and morals set forth by the primary caregiver. So here the person try to understand and try to adapt and integrate all the values which were set forth by the parents and derived out of system of rewards and punishments. Superego is composed of two major components, that is ego, ideal and consigned. So superego has two components which are ego, ideal as well as consigns. So when a child is consistently rewarded for good behavior, there comes the ego, ideal. Okay, and because of this the person's self-esteem is enhanced and the behavior becomes the part of that. Okay, whereas if the child is punished for bad behavior, then it results in the formation of consigns where the child's self-esteem will be reduced, it will be harmed. So here if you see in superego, what happens is that the parental figures, they plays an important role in the development of superego. So here parents will teach the child about what is right and wrong through their feedback. Okay, this could be from parents or from society or culture. When the moral and ethical values are disregarded, okay, when the child shows some kind of moral and ethical principles like based on what he or she has learned from the parent figures or from the society, and if at all the values are disregarded by other people, the main figures, then what happens? There will be feelings of guilt, and this results in the development of conscience. Superego is important in socialization of the individual because it assists the ego in control of id impulses. When superego becomes rigid and punitive, problems with low self-confidence and low self-esteem arise. So that is what. So when we take care of a child, we should make sure that we try to reduce the punitive and rigid behaviors. We are not supposed to show the rigid and punitive behaviors to the child. If you show more and frequently, then what will happen is that the child will not be able to understand what is right and what is wrong, and there will be feelings of guilt as well as low self-esteem. Now let's see example for superego. In this, it is given the same example. So in case of superego, what happens is that it is never right to take something that doesn't belong to you. So the person has got a wallet which contains money. So here the person say that it is not right to take something that doesn't belong to you. This itself shows how moral the person is. Okay, the person is showing extreme form of morality here. And now the second example is never disobey your parents. Extramarital relationship is always wrong. So these are examples for superego. So this is all about the structure of mind. Now let's see the topography of mind. So here, topography of mind is mainly classified into three. First one is conscious, then preconscious or subconscious, and third one is unconscious. First one is conscious. There is a conscious mind. So here So the main part or the main point which we need to understand that conscious mind is the smallest of the three categories. Okay, it's the smallest of the three categories. And what it contains? It contains all the memories that remain within an individual's awareness. So events and experiences that are easily remembered or retrieved are considered to be within the conscious awareness. Examples include telephone numbers, birthdays of self and significant others, dates of special holidays, what one had for lunch today. These all are part of conscious mind. And conscious mind is always under the control of ego. Okay, so ego try to control the conscious mind. Now the second part, that is preconscious mind or subconscious mind. So this contains all the memories that may have been forgotten and not in present awareness, but it can be readily recalled into consciousness through attention. So if you put more attention, you can take out all those memories which are there in the subconscious mind. So for this you need to have an attention. So this includes again telephone numbers and addresses which were once known by you but were not that much used, and because of this reason these memories have gone into the preconscious mind. Okay, and the preconscious mind enhances awareness by helping to suppress unpleasant non-essential memories from the consciousness. So this mainly helps a person to suppress it helps in suppression of unpleasant or non-essential memories from the consciousness. It is thought to be partially under the control of superego. So as I already mentioned that conscious mind is always under the control of ego. So here the preconscious mind is under the control of a superego which helps to suppress unacceptable thoughts and behaviors. Now let's see the third part, that is unconscious. So here this includes all memories that one is unable to bring to conscious awareness. Okay, so this is the largest of the three topographical levels. So as I mentioned before, conscious mind is the smallest of the three topographical levels, whereas the unconscious mind is the largest of the three topographical levels. Unconscious material consists of unpleasant or non-essential memories that have been repressed. So suppression is used by preconscious mind, whereas repression is used by the unconscious mind, and this can be only retrieved through hypnosis and certain substances or drugs that alter the awareness, and it has the capacity to restructure the repressed memories. Unconscious material may also emerge in dreams and in seemingly incomprehensible behaviors. So this is all about topography of mind. And now let's see the dynamics of personality. So what is a personality? What is a force which drives our personality or mental functioning? Okay, now let's see that. So Freud, according to Sigmund Freud, he believed that psychic energy is the force or impetus required for mental functioning. So originating in id, it fulfills basic physiological needs. So psychic energy is nothing but it is a force which helps us to have a good mental function, and also it helps us to meet our all needs. So needs could be the basic physiological needs such as hunger, thirst, sex, all of this. And when the child matures, psychic energy is diverted from id to form ego, and from then ego to form superego. So it starts from id. Okay, psychic energy starts from id. Ego retains the largest share to maintain a balance between impulsive behavior of id and idealistic behavior of the superego. As I mentioned before, ego is the main component that try to bring harmony between id and superego. So id has impulsive behaviors and superego shows idealistic behaviors. So if at all an excess amount of psychic energy is stored in any one of the personality components such as id, ego or superego, then the behavior will reflect that part of the personality. So that is what is referred to as dynamics of the personality. And there are two different terms which we need to understand while we try to learn about dynamics of personality. First one is cathexis and the second one is anti-cathexis. So these are forces within the id, ego and superego that are used to invest psychic energy in external sources to satisfy their needs. So cathexis and anti-cathexis are different types of forces. So these forces are used by id, ego and superego to invest, to use the psychic energy or impetus to meet the needs. Okay. So let's see the first one, that is cathexis. It is a process by which it invests energy into an object in an attempt to achieve gratification. Okay. So this is a process or this is an energy which the id use to achieve the immediate gratification. For example, an individual who instinctively turns to alcoholic to relieve stress. That means as soon as the person got stress, he tried to use alcohol, to take alcohol to go into another world, to escape from that problem. So that is a id behavior, impulsive behavior. Now let's see anti-cathexis. So what is that? It is a use of psychic energy by the ego and superego to control id impulses. So cathexis is used by id, whereas anti-cathexis is used by ego and superego. Why ego and superego use anti-cathexis? In order to control the id impulses. So now let's see the example. Ego would attempt to control the use of alcohol with rational thinking, such as, I already have ulcers from drinking too much. I will call my counselor for support. I will not drink. The superego would exert control with thinking such as, I should not drink. If I drink, my family will hurt and get angry. So the ego always think based on rational thinking, whereas superego goes with the morality. Okay. Freud believed that an imbalance between cathexis and anti-cathexis results in internal conflicts, tension, and anxiety. That means when cathexis, that is id-driven behavior, get interrupted by anti-cathexis, that is used by ego and superego, definitely there will be a conflict. What kind of conflict it would be? Internal conflict, and this conflict which results in tension and anxiety within the individual. Defense mechanisms. This is one of the major component of this theory. So defense mechanisms are usually used by ego. That is why these mechanisms are called ego defense mechanisms. And these mechanisms are used as a protective device against the anxiety in mediating between id and superego. So ego uses defense mechanism as a protection to bring harmony between id and superego. Now let's see the final part of this theory, that is Freud's stages of personality development. So this includes the first 5 years of life. So the first 5 years of life is very important in a child's development because this gives importance on the individual's characteristics that influence individual's adaptation as well as personality trait in adulthood. Now let's see the first one, which is the oral stage. So oral stage is from birth to 18 months. So what happens here is during the oral stage, the behavior of the child is usually directed by id. Okay, so as I mentioned before, id behaviors are usually based on immediate gratification of needs. Focus of the energy is usually mouth. Okay, so mouth is the main part. So here the behavior would include sucking, chewing and biting. So since it is a part of infant, so infant feels a sense of attachment and is unable to differentiate self from the person who is providing the mothering. And because of this, feelings such as anxiety may evolve. Because of this lack of differentiation, pervasive feeling of anxiety on the part of the mother may pass on to her infant, leaving child to be vulnerable for insecurity. With the beginning of development of ego at age 4 to 6 months, the infant starts to view the self as separate from the mothering figure. So before the age of 4 months, the child will be thinking as a part of the mother. But as soon as the child reaches age of 4 to 6 months, he or she starts to have the understanding that, okay, I am a separate being. Okay, I am separate from the mothering figure. And a sense of security and ability to trust others is derived from gratification of fulfilling basic needs during this stage. So if the child is able to get attached with the mother, it's able to, find all the, meet all the needs which the child has, then the child may feel secured, and this helps the child to trust others. Okay, so trust development is a main part of the first stage, that is oral stage. Now let's see the second stage, which is anal stage. So this is a stage between 18 months to 3 years, and the major task is anal stage of the anal stage are gaining independence and control. Okay, so independence and control is a main part of this stage, and this focuses on excretory functioning. Freud believed that the manner in which the parents and other primary caregivers approach the task of toilet training. So toilet training is a main task of anal stage. And when toilet training becomes strict and rigid, the child becomes, there is chance of retaining the feces, and the child may become constipated. So we are not supposed to put more pressure, more, rigid behaviors onto child. If at all, if the parents try to put strict behaviors during toilet training, the child the child can retain the feces, becomes constipated. So this also influences the child's personality. Okay, so these type of children, what happens is that when they become adult, they try to be stubborn, stingy, and they show miserliness. An alternate reaction to strict toilet training is the child to expel feces in an unacceptable manner or at inappropriate times. Child will not be able to understand where to, pass stool or where to urinate. Child will not be able to understand what is the timing for that. So what is right or what is wrong, the child will not be able to understand. This is the main problem. And this also may result in behavioral pattern problems such as malevolence, cruelty to others, destructiveness, disorganization, untidiness. Toilet training that is more permissive and accepting attaches the feeling of importance and desirability to feces production. The child becomes extroverted, productive, and altruistic. So if the toilet training is very good, is performed in an acceptable manner by the parents, then what happens is that the child becomes extroverted, productive, and altruistic. The third stage, that is phallic stage, 3 to 6 years. In the phallic stage, the focus of energy shifts to the genital area. So in phallic stage, what happens is that focus will be in the genital area. So here the child will be able to understand that there is a difference in sexuality of self and others. Child will be able to understand his or her sex with that of others. So this interest may be manifested in sexual self-exploratory or group exploratory play. Here comes the development of Oedipus complex as well as Electra complex. So Oedipus complex happens in males, Electra complex happens in females. So what happens is this child will be having the unconscious desire to eliminate the parent of the same sex and to possess the parent of opposite sex. This happens in phallic stage. Okay, so if it happens in males, then it is called Oedipus complex. If it happens in females, it is called Electra complex, where the child tries to unconsciously eliminate the parent of the same sex and to possess the parent of the opposite sex. So guilt feelings result with emergence of superego. during these years, because if the superego starts to develop during these years, what happens is that the child start to have the guilt. Resolution of this internal conflict occur when child develops a strong identification with parent of the same sex, and that parents' attitudes, beliefs, and value systems are subsumed by the child. Next is fourth stage, that is latency stage, that is 6 to 12 years. So during the elementary school years, focus changes from egocentrism to interest in group activities, learning, and socialization with peers. So here in this stage, what happens is the child going to school. So during this time, the child will be very much interested in social activities, socialization. Okay, so socialization will be the major component of this part, this stage. And sexuality is not absent during this period but remains obscure and impermissible to others. And preference will be for people of the same sex. And sometimes the child may reject members of the opposite sex. Now the last one, that is genital stage, that is from 13 to 20 years. So in this stage, what happens is maturation of genital organs. So genital organs start to get matured. So during this time, there will be a reawakening of the libidinal drive. So focus will be towards the members of opposite sex, and the person try to select a mate. Okay. The development of sexual maturity evolves from self-gratification to behaviors deemed acceptable by societal norms. Interpersonal relationships are based on genuine pleasure derived from interaction rather than from more self-serving implications of childhood associations. So this is what is genital stage. So genital stage includes 13 to 20 years. Here what happens is as the name suggests, there will be maturation of genital organs, and there will be a starting or reawakening of the more libidinal sex drive will be more during this phase. And during this time, the person will be very much attracted to the opposite sex, and there is high chance the person can select a person as a mate. So relationships will be based on this major component. Okay, so this is all about the different stages of personality development. So I hope this video was useful for you. Thank you so much for being there.